Hey everyone, I know I'm early, but I just put these curls in my head, so I don't want them to fall, midstream. So I said, let me go ahead and start early while I got my whole thing together. But thanks again for joining me as we talk about this Dr. Umar Johnson interview. First of all, it was really good, it was really lit. It already has like a million views. Look at that. Yes, Breakfast Club. Let's go. But now let me do my little theme music. Cause a good talk show has to have theme music. Let's see if y'all can hear it. Yeah, so I don't know if y'all heard that or not, but that's from the Parkers. It's time for Gary and Company. That was my episode. Like when Freestyle Unity, when they did that, they had like Gary Coleman on the show and he has his own little theme song. So I'm like, I'm going to use that for my live. So yes, it's time for Cinquetta and Company. So let's go ahead and get into it. So basically, I really like this interview with Dr. Umar Johnson. And for maybe like a lesser reason. I haven't seen anybody talk about this, but I felt like, dang, Dr. Umar, you had a very, very good point. So let me share my screen. Share screen. So we can watch this part together so y'all can see what I mean. Why is it doing that? Let me stop sharing. Let me do it one more time. Share screen. Uh, uh, uh. I don't know why it's blanking out. Let me see what happens when I play it. Okay, here we go. Mm-hmm. 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 So first of all, like he said, he supports the HBCUs. He's here for the HBCUs, and so am I. You guys may already know, but if you don't, I graduated. I did my undergraduate degree at Delaware State University, the best school ever. So I'm with him. I'm all for him when he said he supports HBCUs because I feel the same way. I think like the reason why I had this shirt on right now, Hillman, is because I used to watch a different world growing up. And that's how come I also know how important the media is and images and positive images of Black people and people of color are, you know what I mean, in the media because of that show, I wanted to go to HBCU. So shout out to Dr. Umar Johnson for saying that. You were right on point. So let's continue. Black journalists. Hey. Oh. Hey. Boom. Yeah, say it again. Right. Uh-huh. Very few. You have over 100 HBCUs, and almost none of them offer Black history. No lies detected there. Honestly, I couldn't agree more with what he said when he said that HBCUs um don't offer courses like African American studies courses. And I can only speak for myself. I know like going to Dale State, it was not required. But the reason why I really wanted to bring that point out was because I never forget. I can't remember, it was like what's the class that all the freshmen got to take? University something that we all have to take or whatever. And I remember like my professor in Mass Comm, shout out to Mass Comm, she had us go, and I feel like she had us go do a tour for class at Lockman Hall. And that's like, you know, this place on campus that, yeah, I think it was like the first. See, I don't even know, but there when we went like to this place on campus, I feel like it was like the first, it was the school or whatever before it became the university. And we learned so much history about Dell State and what people did and like the founding members and people that went there, everything that they went through to actually establish Dell State. And I just never forget it, like how much pride I had at the end of the day, learning about my history, learning about the history of the school and what Black people went through to actually have Dell State as a school. So it's just like, oh my gosh, he is right. I mean, it kind of made me feel like, dang, I don't ever want to talk bad about this school, like ever. If I see some trash on the ground, I'm gonna pick it up. Like, just because of the history and the sacrifices that were made by like people that came before me to even have Dell State University. And I feel like that's something that like they should implement more at HBCUs. I don't know if that's the case for everybody, but for me, it really was. And like I didn't have, it wasn't mandatory to take a African American Studies course in school. You know, I think I took it as an elective, but it wasn't mandatory. And like I said, one of my professor made us go and learn about like the history of the campus. But I wish that it was something that could have been implemented like every semester, going back to Lockerman Hall, learning about the history of the school, and then like maybe having other people learn the history, like other students learn the history and become tour guides, and just explain the history of the school, not like why you should come here, but what the school was made of, like the foundation that the school was built on. And when Dr. Umar said that, I was like, oh my gosh, he's telling the beautiful truth. Like, no lies detected. So that was one point I really just wanted to expand on to talk about. Like, why aren't there mandatory African American history classes at HBCUs? I should know like the founding people of the school that I go to, but it's just, I don't know, you're just going just to go in a way. I'm just trying to get my degree. And then I really feel like sometimes you go to HBCU, like I said, for the reasons you see it on TV, it's like it's gonna be fun. They like the Greeks, the sorority and fraternities, they're gonna be stepping in the cafeteria like they did on A Different World. Looks like you're gonna have like the best life experience, but I don't know why. I just never considered the history that comes along with going to HBCU. And I really wish that I knew more or something that was like ingrained in me. Like I would be able to explain it to other people as soon, like, oh, you know, Dell State did this. Like, oh, did you know the history of like, okay, and this was what happened. Like, I really wish that I knew more about the history. So let me share my screen again so we can finish watching a little bit of the video.
How can I go to an HBCU and not learn who I am?
Oh. That would be so great, but it does need to be a movement where there is something in place to know the history of like the HBC, the college itself. Like I know how what's the first HBCU was that school and that, but I just wish I knew more of the history of the school I went to in particular. And like I said, I got a little glimpse of it that one time that we went to go listen about the history of the school and how it started, but that was it that one time. And like I said, it made an impact on me, but I feel like it would have made a greater impact on me if it was something that, I don't know, it turned into like a curriculum. If it was something that had longevity other than that just one time for that one particular season. So he was right on point for that. And I was like, yes. And I feel like that's a point that some people may have glossed over, but that point really stuck out to me, and how, you know, you can really go to HBCU and not know more about the history. And I really do feel like that's a problem. But, you know, I can't be on here just talking about it. I'm going to see what I can do about being about it, especially now that I done did this live and people can see it. So I'm gonna reach out to my contacts back at, you know, my school and see what we can do, because this was a very good point. Maybe I can use this interview as justification in my own experience. So you guys gotta let me know if you're down too. And if you went to HBCU, am I lying? Am I like, well, I'm not gonna say I'm not lying because I know my experience, but if you went to HBCU, what was your experience like? Was African American studies a mandatory class or a mandatory curriculum? Or is it something that you kind of went your whole 4 years without really having to pay attention to? I'm actually going to talk to my sisters about this too, because they went to Dale State as well. And their major was biology, and I'm curious to know if they had to take an African American course. I want to ask. It's not mandatory, but I know you have to take it as but you can take it as an elective. But I feel like it should be mandatory. And part of that history curriculum needs to be about the college itself and how the college was funded and the history of it. That would be like, that's a class that I'll be like this for. Because it actually applies to where I'm at. And like I said, to hear the tears and the sacrifices that were put in place just so I can be here today, just so I can be here to learn. So I love my HBCU, and I feel like I love all HBCUs, but I'm just so glad that he made that point. He brought it out like that. That is, from what I can tell, like one flaw about the school as well, or HBCUs in general. They really don't teach you African American history. It's not mandatory, and I really feel like it should be. Because I felt so much pride, y'all. I felt so good to go to the school. I'm like, yes, the people before me, look at all they did. Like, yes, I love this school. But then it went out the window because I kind of forgot. Like, it was a moment, but I wouldn't have forgot if, it was something that was every semester. Like maybe levels. Like this is intro to Dale State University history. Level 1, then 2 and 3 and 4. Oh, snap! Look at me coming up with a curriculum already. So yes, shout out to Dr. Umar Johnson for bringing that point out. It was a very, very good point. And now I feel like I have a mission. I always have missions going on, but now I have like a newer mission, and to talk about my story and why I feel like this is important to have African American studies, and particularly like the school history studies in HBCUs. So that's all I had to say, y'all. He said a lot more stuff in this interview, guys. So if y'all haven't watched it, watch it. Because I have my my church moments. Yes, Dr. Umar Johnson in this interview, but that point in particular, so that's how come I had to wear my Hillman shirt, I was on the plane with the man. You could come in with me. I go to Hillman. Like, even Nicki Minaj knows about, like, Hillman and, watching the different world. Those shows matter. Going to HBCU be lit. Like, I'm trying to tell y'all. So, but we just do need to know more of our history while we're there. It's not all about fun and turning up and stuff, okay? All right, guys. So that's all I had to say. So like I said, if you have not watched the video, go back and watch this video. And thanks again for joining me on Cinquetta and Company show. I just made that up. I know it's going to need work, but yeah, I just made that up. I'm going to think of something else to come back to talk to you guys about. All right. Bye.